In this video, we're going to be facing off the all-new AMD Ryzen Z2 Extreme against the Z1 Extreme. Is it really going to be worth the upgrade? Well, recently I got my hands on the Z2 Extreme powered MSI Claw A8, and I've been loving this thing. I've already made one video, but my go-to for the longest time since the release of the original ROG Ally was the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme, and I really wanted to see how the Z2 stacks up against it. Now, I'm not making any excuses here for the Z2, but it is a bit early for drivers. If you think back to the original launch of the Z1 and even the launch of the Steam Deck, just with driver updates, we've seen jumps up to 20 FPS in certain games. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen with the Z2 Extreme, but I do expect we'll see a bit more performance down the road with it. And of course, we've seen companies announce upcoming handhelds powered by the Z2 Extreme, but the MSI Claw A8 was the first one I could get my hands on, and at the time of making this video, it's only available in China. But luckily, one of my good friends over there was kind enough to pick one up and ship it to me. We've got the Z2 Extreme, 8 cores, 16 threads. It's a bit different from the Z1, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. We've got 24 gigs of LP DDR5X RAM running at 8000 megahertz here. I've got 8 gigs dedicated to the iGPU, leaving us with 16 for system memory, and I've basically got it set up just like the ROG Ally X. We know these APUs share a lot of similarities, but there are some major differences here that I kind of wanted to go over. With the Ryzen Z1 Extreme, it's based on Zen 4, and we've got 8 cores, 16 threads, a base clock of 3.3 gigahertz, and a boost up to 5.1 on all 8 cores. It's got a 12 compute unit RDNA 3 iGPU. It'll clock up to 2900 megahertz, and for the most part, with all of the systems we've seen powered by the Z1 Extreme, RAM kind of maxes out at 7500 megatransfers per second. The system that I'm using has 24 gigs. Checking out the new Ryzen Z2 Extreme, it's based on Zen 5, so we've got a leg up over there. We also have 8 cores and 16 threads, but this is made up a bit different because with this configuration, we have 3 Zen 5 cores and 5 Zen 5C cores. The 5C cores are clocked lower, but across the board, our base clock is 2 gigahertz on all 8 cores. The Zen 5 cores, so we've got 3 of them, clock up to 5 gigahertz, and the Zen 5C cores go up to 3.3. In certain cases, this could make a difference. I mean, having those lower clocks over there, but keep in mind, this is based on Zen 5. All 8 cores are, and clock for clock, they are faster than Zen 4. We've also got a 16 compute unit RDNA 3.5 iGPU. This will clock up to 2900 megahertz, and the RAM speed here is running at 8000 megatransfers per second. We've also got 24 gigs. Moving over to some benchmarks here, we've got Geekbench 6, and for all of these tests, I did 17 watts and 25 watts. So 17 is kind of our balance, 25 watts is performance. And with both of these chips, if we go a bit higher, 30, 35, we can get more out of it. On the left-hand side, we've got the Z1 Extreme. On the right-hand side, we've got the Z2 Extreme. And at a 17-watt TDP, you can see that Z2 Extreme is beating out the Z1 in single core, but it is falling a little behind in multi-core. And I really do think it just comes down to those lower clocks over there on the Zen 5C cores. This could change down the road, but I've run this test several times with the system I have, and it always comes out around the same. Next thing I wanted to do was just test some OpenCL performance on those iGPUs. I used Geekbench 6 with that built-in GPU benchmark. Only tested at a 25 watt TDP here, and over on the Z1 Extreme with that 12 CU RDNA 3 iGPU, we scored a 27,807, and over on that 16 CU RDNA 3.5 based iGPU in the Z2 Extreme, we're up to 33,488. So we've got a significant jump here, and I kind of expected this would happen given that we have more CUs here and newer architecture. Moving over to 3D Mark Time Spy at a 17 watt TDP on the Z1 Extreme came in with a 2,539. Over on the Z2 Extreme, 2,917. And we also got a nice jump at a 25 watt TDP over that Z1 Extreme with the Z2. And the final benchmark I ran, which is one I usually don't run on iGPUs because it's really meant for higher end systems. Either way, we've got 3D Mark Steel Nomad. On the Z1 Extreme, we had a total score of 485 with an FPS of 4.86. And on the Z2 Extreme, we had a total score of 560 with an FPS of 5.61, giving us an increase of 0.75 frames in this benchmark with that 16 CU iGPU. So not much of a hike here with this higher end benchmark. Now I wanted to move over to some side-by-side in-game benchmarks, and the first one we have here is Cyberpunk 2077, Z1 on the left-hand side, Z2 on the right-hand side. I ran all of these benchmarks at a 25 watt TDP and a 17 watt TDP. On screen, you're seeing the 25 watt run. I've got Afterburner up in the top left-hand corner, and one thing I noticed basically across the board are the higher clocks on the Z1 Extreme. Not exactly sure what's going on, but we are at the same exact TDP here. And if you look closely, yeah, I mean, we are coming in with higher clocks on the iGPU and CPU with the Z1 Extreme. With all of the gaming benchmarks that I ran, I went to 1080p. We tested at 25 watt and 17 watt. There was one we only tested at 25 because it didn't fare well on either of these chips. But by the end of this run with Cyberpunk 2077, 1080p Steam Deck preset, 25 watt TDP. On the Z1 Extreme, we had an average of 42.66 FPS, and on the Z2 Extreme, we had an average of 46.65 FPS. And obviously, that Z2 is beating out the Z1, but not by much at all, even at this 25 watt TDP. So let's check out a 17 watt TDP. Same settings, Steam Deck preset, 1080, just dropping the wattage down. Z1 Extreme managed an average of 32 FPS, and the Z2 Extreme is up to 39. And this is one of those games I also tested at 900p with those same settings, 17 watt TDP. Z1 Extreme came in at 35 FPS, and the Z2 Extreme came in at 45 FPS. So this is actually a really nice bump here, but we had to lower that resolution down. And to tell you the truth, I play most of my stuff at 900p on my handhelds anyway, but I'm testing at 1080 because a lot of people always want to see it. Another game I tested was Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and we're seeing the same thing here. Higher clocks on that Z1 Extreme for the iGPU and CPU. With this, we're at 1080 low settings, and at the end of this benchmark, 25 watt TDP, Z1 Extreme came in with an average of 59, and the Z2 Extreme came in with an average of 64. I also tested at a 17 watt TDP, still using low settings, 1080p, 44 over on the Z1, 57 on the Z1 Extreme. Next one we have here is Forza Horizon 5, and this is a very well optimized game. It works on a lot of iGPUs. We're at 1080 medium with no scaling at all, 25 watt TDP. Z1 Extreme averaged 76 FPS, fully playable there, and the Z2 Extreme came in with an average of 80 FPS. That's at a 25 watt TDP, and at 17 watts, the Z1, 62 FPS, and the Z2 up to 75 FPS. Black Myth Wukong, no frame generation, and performance with this game on iGPUs has come a long way since its release. I mean, it was hardly playable on the Z1 Extreme the day it came out, but now, I mean, we're getting a pretty playable frame rate here. At a 25 watt TDP, Z1 Extreme managed 44 FPS, and the Z2 Extreme came in with an average of 49 FPS. Moving over to the 17 watt test, Z1 at 32, Z2 at 43. And the final benchmark I ran here was Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, and this is a Steam Deck verified game, but I've never really even been able to play it on the Steam Deck. Not great performance on either of these chips. 25 watt TDP, I didn't even bother testing at a 17 watt, because at the end of this benchmark, the Z2 Extreme only beat out the Z1 by 1 FPS. Thought that was pretty crazy. I figured we'd get a little more out of it, but as soon as I started running the benchmarks, I just knew it was all going to fall on its face. So the way I see it, at the time of making this video with the drivers we have for that Z2 Extreme, I wouldn't run out and upgrade from the Z1 just yet. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I do expect we'll see better performance in a lot of these games. Just like the Steam Deck and the Ally when it was released, I mean, there were games that just didn't run. Now we're seeing pretty good frame rates across the board, so we'll have to wait and see. And I'm going to keep my eye on driver updates. I'm actually going to go into the BIOS and see if I can tweak a few things with this, because I got a feeling that we can get more performance out of this chip, even at the same wattages we were running at in this video. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you're interested in checking out my first look video about the MSI Claw A8, I'll leave a link for that in the description. And I've got more on the way, so keep an eye on the channel. But like always, thanks for watching.